All right. Welcome to the January 7th school committee meeting. Roll call, please.
Ms. Stetson?
Yes.
Mrs. Dargan?
Yes.
Mr. Greer?
Here.
Mrs. Breit? And Mr. Costello?
Please join me for pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under open meeting law, I am informing the public of this meeting being videotaped by Marshfield Community Media. If anyone in the audience is taping this meeting, either audio or video, please inform us of such at this time. Thank you. Let's see. Yep. All right. No student reps here?
No, they were at the DECA conference and unable to be here.
I don't do that.
So you go right to the spotlight next?
Yeah, spotlight on excellence.
Thank you. So hi, I'm Courtney Coots. I'm the director of the Early Childhood Program, and I have the honor of choosing the spotlight on excellence for tonight. I chose to focus on our Mini Rams Community Outreach Program. So this program is a collaboration between Marshfield Public Schools and the Department of the Early Education and Care. It's based on a grant, the Coordinated Family and Community Engagement Grant. We service all children in the town between the ages of 0 and 5, as well as helping their families and caregivers have access to all of the support and resources in the community. So currently our program is located in 3 different spots. We have a permanent home in South River Elementary School. We also have a few programs over at the Ventress Library. And when weather permits, not like today, we do run programs at the Coast Guard Hill. All of our locations are centrally located so families can access them, and it's a wonderful opportunity when they go to the library after the programs to then go over and explore the books. These are a few of our members in the Mini Rams program. On the left, Amy Carter is our coordinator. She regrets that she wasn't able to make it here tonight. She's actually an early childhood special education teacher. Susan West has been working with Marshfield for over 35 years. She's an infant specialist. She's through the Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital, and she works with parents on all types of issues for children 0 to 5, with her specialty being infants. She works on breastfeeding and all different issues that might come up, such as sleep issues and behavioral difficulties. These other 2 young women are new additions to our crew. So Erin is a yoga instructor. She's also an author and a writing instructor. So she runs some yoga groups, and she ties in a big literacy component to those groups. And Jen, she is a fitness instructor, and she runs our Twinkle Toes program. So again, just to reiterate, this is really a collaboration between Marshfield Public Schools and the Department of Early Childhood and Care. We are charged with developing high-quality programming that focuses on early literacy and overall just healthy development for children. Our focus is 0 to 5-year-olds and really honing in on that parent education and the family engagement piece. Right now, we're in the process of planning some kindergarten transition activities, which I will get into a little bit more. So this is just an example of some of the play groups. This is the heart of the program. There's something for everyone. So you'll see there's groups for our infants, our toddlers, preschool age. We offer programs during the morning, the afternoon, after school, and some on the weekends. So we're really just trying to be as diverse as we can. There's something for everyone. There's movement. There's preschool prep programs, there's STEM programs, so our families have had a lot of fun finding things that work well for their families. one thing I'd like to highlight is when this program has been in Marshfield for a really long time, and over the last, I think 3 years ago, we had about 15 families that were involved, and now we have over 120 families that participate each week. The other side of the program is, again, that parent and caregiver support. So this is a list of what we have for this year in terms of trainings. We've talked with families, and they've identified they really enjoy evening trainings. They like Zoom. They want to be home in their PJs with a cup of coffee. So we've been doing that. These are the 3 that are coming up this year. So at the end of this month, we have How to Parent an Anxious Child, Technology Troubles, and Responding to Challenging Behaviors. So again, we try to find relevant topics, and our speakers are all either psychologists or special educators of some sort. We've had a lot of really great feedback. The other thing is these live presentations allow for questions and answers at the end, and then we have them on our website so families can view them at another time if needed. And lastly, the other part of the grant has us, we formed an Early Childhood Advisory Council. We meet about 5 times a year, and I put some of our community partners up there. As you can see, there's quite a few, just our private preschools in the community. We have Steeple School, we have Pudding Hill, we have Mossman Play Therapy Center. So lots of different resources and groups. We all come together and we share ideas and we share our resources and different supports for families. And right now, we have a meeting actually next week, and we're starting to plan our kindergarten transition activities. So all 5 elementary schools, of course, have their own transition activities as well. This is different. We have 3 different activities that we did this last year and the year before, and it seemed to work well. So the first activity is really for everyone to come and meet a couple kindergarten teachers from their school, and that happens at the Ventris Library. The next activity is just for families, and it's really a panel of kindergarten teachers who present what to expect in kindergarten, including things like curriculum and what you can do to help prepare your child for kindergarten. And then lastly, we end with a kickoff celebration. So we invite all the families to Coast Guard Hill, and we have some different entertainment, and families are able to meet with one another and just really kind of get that excitement for kindergarten going. And that is the end of my presentation. Does anyone have any questions about this program?
I just have one question,
Sure.
and you kind of, I guess, touched on it a little bit. I was wondering how you advertise, and then you talked about that huge jump in the last 3 years. What do you attribute that to?
I think it's our online presence. I'm just going back. So we do have right here. So, and I have a handout for everyone too. So we're on Facebook. We're on. I think a big, and then also a big piece has been Joni's been putting all of our advertisements in our newsletter as well, which has been really helpful. Word of mouth. I think also just being centrally located. We used to be over at Coast Guard Hill, and I think some families weren't aware of, and now we have better visibility at South River.
That's amazing to go from, you said 15 to 120.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yes. And that's
That's incredible.
120 families right now a week that are enrolled
That's amazing.
for the different programs. So, yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Great, thanks.
I just want to say it's a very, very impressive, what this program's become over the years. It's tough to follow you and Sean. I hate speaking after both of you. You usually hit everything.
Sorry.
That's a compliment.
Thanks.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Cody.
Let's see.
Updates?
Yeah, with the, I'm just gonna move things around, because I know you've had a long day, our MEI rep.
Sure. Hi, yes. That's okay. That works for you. Yep. I'm all set. All right, here we go.
Yep.
So, my apologies. All right, so, hello, everybody. Mr. Greer and members of the Marshfield School Committee, good evening and Happy New Year to all of you. As always, thank you for allowing time on tonight's agenda for the MEA. I'm extremely excited to be back in the Granitino Early Education Center, and I assure you that while very well appointed, the high school is not nearly as adorable. This is so cool, editorializing just for a second. It's just that I've been here for a couple years and it just gets better every time. So tonight, on behalf of her colleagues here at the GEC, I'm happy to share some well-deserved kudos to Miss Meg Zadrozny. MEA Building Representative Sue Wareska writes of Ms. Zadrozny, quote, "With enormous pleasure and infinite respect, the early education team recognizes Megan Zadrozny, aka Miss Meg, for her expertise, talent, and commitment to Marshfield's youngest learners. Over her many years as an occupational therapist within the Marshfield Public Schools, Miss Meg has supported students at multiple levels, early education, elementary, middle, high school, as well as students who attend outside placements. Whether working directly with students, supporting parents, or collaborating with her colleagues, Miss Meg is always respectful, responsive, thoughtful, creative, and 100% committed to developing environments, activities, and strategies to help children achieve their fullest potential. Miss Meg approaches her students with empathy and humor, embracing them wherever they are in their individual journey of learning. She creates engaging, unique activities that not only help children develop skills, but they're also fun, based on the child's interests, and highly motivating. Whenever Miss Meg enters the classroom, all of the children clamor to join her activity, and there have even been tears when it's time for her to go. For parents who are navigating the world of special education for the first time, Miss Meg is a knowledgeable and patient guide. She provides clear and relatable expectations to help them understand sensory processing and self-regulation. When discussing the challenging behaviors young children can present, Miss Meg is a calm and reassuring presence. She recognizes the struggles parents face and shines a bright light into that tunnel. As the only OT servicing the early education program, Miss Meg manages her large caseload and the many varied components of her role with grace and flexibility. Even when she is swimming in evaluations, reports, IEPs, and paperwork, she is always making time to collaborate with her colleagues and never hesitates to add one more thing to her plate in support of others. The early education team feels exceedingly lucky and honored to count Miss Meg as our colleague, team member, and friend. The littlest students of Marshfield cannot ask for a more dedicated advocate or skilled therapist to support them as they begin their journey in school." End quote. The newest and cutest building in Marshfield Public Schools is a gift to the children and parents of our community precisely because of the professional and personal devotion of educators like Megan Zadrozny and all of her colleagues here at the Granitino Early Education Center. Please continue to keep each of them well and truly in mind as you make the decisions that consider what is best for the entirety of education in Marshfield. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see, any subcommittee reports? None? Public participation? Anyone? All right, that was easy enough. We'll go back, we'll start with you.
Sure.
Superintendent?
Yeah, I won't do a huge update, but I did want to just talk about, hope everyone had a wonderful break. And it was a nice break for a lot of us. I think it was my first days off at Marshfield since I've been here. But it was really nice to just take time to be with family, and I'm sure everyone enjoyed that. And we had a lot of holiday revelry before the holidays. That's great. You know, it's all part of our community, and what makes Marshfield special is that we can celebrate one another around the holidays. And there were a plentiful amount of them. I was a door judge at Marshfield High School. Doors were decorated around holiday-themed movies. And it was wonderful. I was with some students and some educators walking around trying to work with a pretty sophisticated rubric to determine which was the best holiday door. I'm not even sure who won, to be honest with you, Mr.
Oh, it was
Raymond.
the science department one with the 12 Days of Christmas.
And it was a good choice.
Yeah.
12 Days of Christmas was amazing. And we had our oldest students at the high school going and singing and playing under the direction of Mr. David Kaminsky and Cara Vittor and Laura Vitarelli. We had orchestra, chorus, and band students playing at all of our elementary schools, which was great. We also had elementary concerts, both for faculty, staff, and students, and then we had sort of a companion piece for our parents. That was wonderful. And it was just a great way to sort of end, I think, a very successful start of the school year. Speaking of a successful initiative, right now our learning walks, I have to say one of my favorite learning walks this year was in this building and at Daniel Webster. We did a learning walk around our student engagement look-fors here and at Daniel Webster. And it was amazing to see. You really get a sense for what our early educators are doing for our students as they move on throughout the district. We talk about trying to get students to drive lessons and drive learning, and a lot of the kids come in driving learning one way or another, and our goal is to try to, here at the, and our educators' goals is try to get them to participate in an organized way, but not lose that authentic sense of self that makes them special, unique, exciting, creative, and it was, to use Mr. Raymond's term, it was an adorable learning walk. But we also, I think, left with a healthy appreciation for the amount of energy it takes at that level to keep students on task, and then also the seamless integration of services here and at Daniel Webster. You mentioned Miss Megan, and she was like on roller skates, literally in every room and doing amazing things. But that's just, I think, emblematic of everyone that works here. And today we did a learning walk at Governor Winslow, and it was a special learning walk for us because we've had learning walks in the district before, but we're doing this very formally with a real intent and purpose, and we had educators here with us. So we made a decision midway through. Often districts just have leaders do it the first year, because in a lot of ways it's our professional development as getting a good sense of sort of what we're looking for as we go into classrooms. We brought educators in, and I think they, at Governor Winslow, they added a lot, obviously, but I think they also got a lot out of it, and I'm just very excited for the potential of that moving forward as we use learning walks for a variety of purposes. And it's got to hit the ground level. You know, that's the whole idea, is to get our educators excited about seeing each other. They learn so much from the expertise they share, and just trying to facilitate that is something exciting. The belonging team, I think we met once within the session that. I don't think I talked about that last time, but we've had one very successful meeting. We have one coming up. We're moving slowly, but we overviewed what social emotional learning is and how that ties in with making sure that we're culturally responsive to create what we're calling transformative SEL, which is really making sure that everybody gets those 5 competencies of self-assessment, self-management, social awareness, relationship building, and responsible decision making. That it ties into everything, and that we're being very culturally responsive throughout the district. And then the Student Advisory Council met for the first time as a big group with our elementary students in tow, and that was also adorable. And they provided so much voice in that meeting as 5th graders. So I have exciting thoughts on connecting all of this around student voice. So those are just some updates. I know we have some more substantive ones when we get into our MCAS work and certainly our budget today. So I don't want to take up any more time, but if you have any questions, I'd be glad to cover that.
Thanks.
Yeah, very informative.
Awesome.
Let's see, academic updates. Dr. Martin?
So professional development tomorrow is a choice PD for middle school and high school. Mr. Raymond, are you doing a session tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay. So a variety of options, both in person and online. Different topics like AI, student voice, engagement, questioning, data, all kinds of things. And so the teachers could go in and choose which session they wanted to participate in. So that is tomorrow afternoon. Next week is elementary PD around literacy. So Gianna and Nicole, our literacy coaches, met with the lab teachers yesterday, and I popped in and was able to hear some of their feedback about what they need. So we met with Amy McAlpine today and planned out next week's PD for the elementary teachers. And then we also met the coaches, Amy McAlpine, the elementary principals and myself met to plan out some further PD around student data and instructional groupings. And that will be building based, so the principals will lead that work. And then I do have that big presentation coming. But other than that, we are working the change in the MCAS requirement for competency determination. So we're working, we have continued to like reach out to other districts, see what they're doing, what that means for us. I think what's important to note is that MCAS is still required by federal statute, so our students are still going to have to take it. I think that is a misconception that some people have, is that it's going away. It's not going away. It will still be used for accountability for the district. It will still be used for certain scholarships and opportunities for kids. So we're just trying to work through exactly what our requirements are going to be for competency determination so our kids can graduate without using MCAS as that one gatekeeper for it. So that's kind of a work in progress, and we'll be coming back to you through the handbook language and things like that. So,
Thank you.
and that's it.
Questions, comments? All right, special education update. Mrs. Scalaro?
So I have two quick things for you tonight. One is a Title IX update. I just want to let you know that there have been some changes to the Title IX law. And I'm going to give you a quick overview of the steps Marshfield has to take to remain compliant. But I'll have a larger presentation at another date. And then I'm just going to give you an announcement of a CPAC meeting coming up on Monday. So Title IX is a federal civil rights law that prohibits sex discrimination in education programs and activities that receive federal financial assistance. So the Office for Civil Rights and the Department of Education are the agencies that oversee Title IX. Title IX applies to all people, students and employees, regardless of sex, gender identity, or gender expression. It protects against sexual harassment, sexual assault, interpersonal violence, including dating and domestic violence, stalking, discrimination based on pregnancy, and sex exploitation. So on April 29, 2024, the U.S. Department of Education published changes to Title IX regulations that went into effect in Massachusetts on August 1st, 2024. So as the Title IX coordinator for the district, I was designated that as part of these new regulations. It is my role to ensure the district's compliance with all aspects of Title IX. So I've attended legal trainings, and I'm working with other district leaders and our legal counsel to review and revise our policies, practices, and procedures to ensure that compliance. So the next steps will include meeting with the policy subcommittee of the school committee to review the required changes to the Marshfield Public Schools Sexual Harassment Title IX policy and the Marshfield Public Schools Sex Discrimination policy. So once the subcommittee reviews and provides input into the changes, the policies will return to the whole committee for a vote. So I'm bringing this up tonight just to let you know that changes are coming. I will review the specific changes to the policy as well as the requirements for training within the district more thoroughly when Title IX is on the agenda, hopefully at the next meeting on January 21st.
That's the plan right now.
Thank you. Any questions, comments?
Thank you.
Okay. And then I just want to let you know about a school committee, CPAC meeting
Oh.
on Monday, next Monday, January 13th at 6:30 at Seth Ventris. Back by popular demand is From Chaos to Calm, Supporting Your Student with Executive Functioning Challenges. So Pilgrim Area Collaborative, Deb Booth, is going to present make this presentation. It's executive functioning is an umbrella term used to describe a set of cognitive processes necessary for emotional and behavioral control. So the last time this topic was presented, it was a huge hit. And all participants walked away with a toolbox for assisting children and students. So like really practical tips to use at home. So it's something that everyone can gain something from. So it's going to be presented by Deb Booth of PACES, Pilgrim Area Collaborative, and brought to you by CPAC. The registration materials are out in the newsletters.
And she's fantastic.
Yes.
She's amazing.
She's great.
Like, yeah. Sorry.
That's
I'll
it.
say that.
No worries. All right, so what do we have? Budget, playgrounds, and transportation updates. Mr. Miller?
I'm going to stick to facilities. I got budget later. This is the first meeting since special town meeting in December, and just want to thank town meeting for approving all the educational articles that were on the warrant. Most notably, the Martinson School roof schematic design and feasibility study. That process has gotten underway, and there's a lot of work to be done there. In addition to that, we begin a process this Thursday with the MSBA, a full-scale process of review of all our school buildings. So it's a pretty extensive process, working with Fred Russell and the building leadership with a full-scale review, and that will go. We're going to get a lot of the MSBA in the coming months. That's it for now. The budget.
All right, thank you. So we'll just move on through the agenda. We'll do minutes. We're able to review and approve all of them. So we'll start with December 3rd. And when you're ready, you'll accept the motion.
Yeah. Motion to approve the minutes from the meeting on December 3rd, 2024.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Ms. Stetson, second by Ms. Dargan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained?
Thank you.
300. We'll do December 16th, 2024.
Oh, this one's super short one. Motion to approve the minutes from our meeting on December 16th, 2024.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Stetson, second by Mrs. Dargan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 300. Executive session, I think for this one, I'll take a motion to approve but not release.
So moved.
Second.
So, yeah. Ms. Stetson with the motion, Ms. Dargan with the second,
Yes.
roll call?
Ms. Stetson?
Yes.
Mrs. Dargan?
Yes.
Mr. Greer?
Yes. All right, so that takes care of the minutes.
So it's approve and not release those?
Correct, yeah. Yeah, I'll wait on Sean's judgment for that since he's the
Sounds good.
chair. Let's see. All right, Tom, you're on, I guess. Operating budget?
Gordon, you want to flip?
Yeah.
Oh, we can do MCAS.
You want to do it first?
We'll just do
Doesn't
MCAS.
matter.
Ready? One, two, three, shoot.
Okay, I have.
All right, so we'll do MCAS.
Okay. So Courtney, I might ask you to click on a few things. So, I'm just gonna update you on some data analysis that our educators have done, with their colleagues, with administrators, and then some action plans that came out of this work. So just a quick reminder, MCAS, we have ELA, we have math, we have science, tech, and engineering, which STE is the acronym. For science, technology, and engineering, it's important to note that grades 5 and 8 for the last 2 years have had the next generation and also participated in the pilot. So instead of doing 2 sessions of a test that actually counts, they do 1 session of that traditional test and then 1 session of the pilot test. However, the pilot is turning into like, this is real thing this year. So the pilot was very interesting. It's a lot of simulation and students actually solving phenomenon-based problems rather than your typical let's read a passage and answer questions. So that was that's been very different. However, you won't see any of those results because it was a pilot. So we got very limited information from it. But we look forward to having that new one in place this year. So it's important, and I actually haven't shared this in the last time that I presented MCAS results, but it is really important that we look at how it's changed over time and why it's difficult to compare some years to others. So you can see on the right, there have been differences in testing both due to COVID and after COVID. So 2019, it was full test. 2020, when COVID hit, there was no MCAS. The next year, the elementary and middle school only had half of the test. And then 2022 returned everybody to the full test. But within that whole time frame, they shifted from advanced proficient needs improvement warning to your current exceeding meeting, partially meeting, not meeting. There was a transition from the legacy MCAS to next gen MCAS. There was a change in some of the cut scores, particularly in ELA. And then there was a reset in accountability metrics. So sometimes it's kind of difficult to compare years, especially when you look at before 2022, because it was very up and down there. So we just need to keep that in the back of our minds, because we usually look at 5 years of data, but that 5 years of data, that first couple of years, probably looks very different than it does now. So, all right, so the data analysis that we did, we kept it at a pretty high level this first time, because this was the first time that we had our data dashboard, which we implemented with all of our leadership first, our curriculum leaders next, and then all of our educators now have access. So this was the first time that they got a look at it. And it was also the first time that we did a common protocol all the way from elementary to high school. So I just have linked here the slides that we used. The protocol in the middle was really what we did. We looked at the overview. We talked about what catches your attention, what does the data tell us, not tell us, good news, problems of practice, and some of the key conclusions and next steps. And then the last piece was everybody took notes on their own, but then they came up with a kind of a collaborative note at the end that captured their discussion around the data. So when I show you kind of the results and what they've done with the information, I took all of those note catchers and just kind of, for elementary, I just collected them and showed you the highlights for all of the elementary schools. And then middle school and high school, I shared kind of these slides with the coordinators and the department heads, and they just made sure that I was capturing what their conversations were. So the outcomes, elementary ELA, so this is just overall, this encompasses 3, 4, and 5 across all 5 buildings. So some of the celebrations above the state overall, vocabulary and conventions, comprehension, it actually was a celebration because they recognized that, yes, we probably did need a program, so now we have it. The context, clues, inferences, and evidence, this got interesting because it was mixed. In some buildings and grade levels, it was a celebration. And in some buildings and grade levels, it was a problem of practice. So that's a good indication that we should be looking to our colleagues in other buildings and grade levels to figure out what did you do that made you celebrate and have good results, where we might be able to pick up some of your practices. Overall, the problems of practice, writing, figurative language, which you're going to notice a pattern of figurative language that kind of goes through elementary up through high school. So that is a key that we should work on vertically. Problems of practice, just the win time, how we're going to use that, making sure that we're using that, making sure that we have consistent implementation of this new literacy program. So the action steps, and again, this is kind of all of the elementary schools and all of the grade levels kind of condensed into one slide. The vocabulary piece, that was a celebration. Before we implemented the new program, we had TLA in working on vocabulary practices with our elementary teachers. So they noticed a difference. So they want to make sure that even though we have this new program, we're going to keep those vocabulary practices in place. You'll see some of the other things, inferencing, again, the win block, making sure that everyone is using the new program. So the highlighted things are things that we've already started to put into place. So making sure that we're teaching the new program with integrity. So the principals are resharing the curriculum use expectations. Courtney, can you click on that?
Yep.
You know what? I'll probably just come up there because these probably have more links. So what I have is, is that going to work? Yeah. What I'm gonna, there we go. So these are the curriculum use expectations that the literacy coaches and the lab teachers came up with. So we're resharing these just to make sure that everyone is still on the same page. You will notice that we'll also be doing that for math. There's also a consultation with literacy coaches. They have set up a schedule so that people can indicate when they want to work with them, when they might want to ask questions. And then we also already have time scheduled for grade level collaboration. So if you notice, some of these are focused on the literacy data already. There's literacy data meetings, there's literacy with math coaches, there's building based. So we continue to look at that schedule, and if anything comes up over the course of like PD or something like that, we can shift some of these GLC times so that the literacy coaches can focus on certain things. So those are a couple of things we already have in place at elementary for ELA. Furnace Brook, again, this is over 6, 7, and 8 in ELA. Their biggest celebration was there's a higher percentage of students meeting or exceeding expectations compared to the state. They found, which again, poetry you will see at the high school as well, problem of practice was poetry, figurative language, inferencing, and comparing and contrasting two pieces of literature. So their action steps, they've already done a lot of work at the middle and high school in ELA. So they already did some of this work, and I'm going to show you. So they added some poetry back into grade 6, where it used to be a separate class. They're actually bringing that back in. They have a mini unit that they're doing to make sure they already have poetry in there. They already have pieces built out that they're going to make those shifts. 7th grade is using specific poetry questions. And 8th grade has added some inferencing assignments to their current play that they're reading. So all of these things they already have in place. They also have more departmental curriculum time on February 5th that they'll continue to work on some of these action steps that they indicated. High school literacy is next. So again, they are above the state average in all categories. Problems of practice, they found something interesting that the students actually had problems with multiple choice questions, more so that popped out at them. That multiple choice actually was an issue. That student, so they're going to be looking at those multiple choice questions. One thing was, though, multiple choice questions around inferencing. So that's coming into play. So their action steps, again, is to weave poetry through, because that was something they found. Find relevant articles that tie to the theme of the units. So these are some things that they're doing. So, for example, Macbeth, they're going to do an article and an excerpt from Macbeth. And they're going to make sure that they're utilizing multiple pieces of literature in there, or multiple texts. Typecast is a model, and you'll see it at the bottom right as to what that stands for, because I'm not an English teacher. You might know
It was-
that.
Yeah, we
Dr.
put that
Sullivan.
in when I was,
Um,
I didn't do it, but it was in.
Yeah, so they are doing some typecasts around poetry because they also found that was a weakness similar to the middle school. So all of these things are already started to be put into place. They took actions pretty quickly.
I think what's so great is that they analyzed the data, the people who
Yeah.
were actually putting it into practice and created
Yes.
their own way of going about it that they can work together to assess
Yeah,
formatively.
and they did, I mean,
So that's important because they brought
they
it
broke down, I will say that high school, I got the list of breakdown of every question
Yeah.
that they went through. So, yeah, it
That's
was
great.
very thorough. All right, on to math. So elementary math, again,
English
grades.
questions first, or just say questions at the end?
Oh, do you want to, go,
That's helpful.
throw it.
Separate.
I feel like I'll forget if I go to.
No.
Okay.
Throw
I
it
just
out.
I have two things, just if you could help me understand them more.
Yep.
I'm looking at the average SGPs.
Yep.
So, can you explain to me, because it looks like the middle school is so different than the elementary and the high school. Why like a 8.9% drop?
Well-
what is that telling us?
The growth percentile, the average is between 40 and 60. So they're all in the average range. Growth percentiles are when you compare a student to students across the state similar that have scored similarly to them in the past.
It's a 2-year cohort.
Yeah, so the growth is really, it's hard when you're looking at, especially elementary in such a big group, but just know that 40 to 60 is the average. If you see growth above 60, then our kids grew more than the average student in that typical year of learning. So it really isn't as big of a drop as it looks because you're still in this average range. So they're 45.6, they were 50, and the high school was 52.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
A little bit of sense?
Mhm.
All
And
right.
then my other question just was,
Yep.
What do you attribute to when it goes from elementary to middle? The kids that are in the partially meeting and not meeting
Yep.
sort of stays the same, and then when we get to high school, those numbers significantly drop.
And-
So,
Which one?
see, like the partially meeting and the not meeting,
Yep.
we really improve on those numbers, right? Like there's
Yep.
so much less. So what?
Well, one of the things that this, like, remember, this is the action plan. So what we've done is we've looked at where we fell short and we've created actions around it. So what you're seeing actually in the action plan is a reaction to what we have seen. So
So
what we
these are,
attribute
this
to
is
it
the
is what
actual
you're
data
seeing.
that they looked at. So remember those screenshots you mentioned? This is one of the screenshots from the Open Architects. But they looked at each individual grade level and they looked at those. And so if they saw that 40% of their kids were in partially meeting, then they could dig a little bit deeper. This was really kind of this 200-foot level view of it, and now they're going deeper.
So
than
we're
last
finding
time.
we're not doing we could do a better job in areas like poetry, in areas
Right,
like
right.
looking at
I'm
figurative
just
language.
curious about why the number stays consistent for the first 8 years of education, and then in the last 4, we have so many fewer kids, or I guess more kids in the meeting and exceeding, and so many fewer kids in the partially.
I think that's a trend you will find across the state, to be honest.
Okay.
Part of it is, now, this is just my gut, but part of it is the 10th grade test has always been, you have to pass it to graduate. And so there may be a difference in the actual test and the expectations from 8th to 10th.
Okay.
Because that is, across the state, you will find that middle school is generally lower than the high school rates.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
Thank you. Helpful.
Okay, so, anything else before
No,
I move
thank
on to
you.
math?
Thank you.
Okay. Elementary math, so celebrations, they're seeing results from the new program, which was great. Fractions with visuals, but yet a problem of practice they found was fractions along a number line. So fractions was a positive and a not so great, but they dug deeper and they found out that if it's a visual, they did great. If it was on a number line, that's where they fell short. Trending above the state, The number corner, they realized that the number corner, which is part of Bridges, addresses a lot of the standards. So we're really digging deeper into that number corner, making sure that they're doing all pieces of it this year. Some problems with practice, 3-digit numbers, regrouping, grade 4 measurement. So some of the action steps is really review topics prior to MCAS. We generally do that anyway across the board. But looking at Bridges intervention, we have a separate intervention program. So what can we use out of those resources to help kind of support kids in some of these learning areas? And then again, so working with math coaches, so what Danielle and Janine did is they started going, they went, okay, I won't do that. What they started to do was go through all of the action plans though, and they started like digging out ways that they could help and addressing it in their grade level collaboration. So one thing was, I think it was in grade 3 or 4, they talked about teaching the standard algorithm for something. That's actually not a skill until grade 6. So the math coaches could pick up on that and then go back to those teachers and say, listen, that's not, standard algorithm isn't until grade 6, so what can we do to support those kids now? So those are the things that we're resharing. So just like literacy, we also have the same thing in math, the expectations around how to use the program, what you can supplement, what you can adjust, what you kind of have to leave as is. So we're resharing those as well, along with the number corner. Again, we're looking at the fractions on January 22nd. I mentioned earlier that they're going to do some other data analysis and GLC work at the building level, so that's one place that they're going to dig in, is what through iReady do they have, what in workplaces do they have to build up these fraction skills. So those things are already in the works. Middle school math, celebrations, there's been a slight increase since implementing the new program. They are scoring higher than the state. Problems of practice, they seem to be struggling between actual skills that students need, like are there some skill development that they need to in order to move to the next level. So some things that they are doing is they're actually doing some warm-up things across the grade level to hit certain things that they're seeing. So division, fractions, things like that that they already had previously, but in a warm-up they're going to review that. They are working with a math coach from Looney Math Consultants. They've been working with her since implementing the program, so they're continuing to do that. They actually have a meeting with her on Friday where she comes in, she meets with the entire team. They did a visit to Matt Murphy's classroom last time to actually look at what's happening, and then they come back and talk. So they have another one of those on this Friday, and then again they have more department meeting and departmental time coming up. High school math. So their celebrations were really geometry and statistics and probability, and then their problems of practice, they were noticing, and circles, they actually met with the middle school team on one of our afternoons, and middle school and high school had this, I'm not a math teacher, so they had this phenomenal conversation around how they teach circles. And they were finding all of these like ways to fill in gaps. So they started this even before the analysis activity, but they were noticing certain things. So one thing that they started doing, they added more higher order questioning, but then the middle school's program is illustrative math. They do not use that at the high school, but what they did was they actually went into illustrative math and they, oh gosh, and they identified, that's probably because you're signed in, I'm sorry. They identified some examples from the middle school program that they can actually use in high school so that the kids will be more familiar with the format, with the language, all of that. So trying to bridge that gap from middle school to high school. All right. Elementary science. So the celebrations, this is another area where the celebrations differed across the buildings. So some buildings have strengths in one area and some buildings have strengths in other areas. So it just kind of, this is where we know that science at the elementary level is one of those topics, those subjects that doesn't get as much attention because so much emphasis over the last 5 years has been math and literacy. We are hoping with the new program that there's more science and social studies topics built into the new literacy program. So we're hoping that will actually help with the knowledge building piece. That they also are looking at the actual testing. So I mentioned the simulations, which is something that we don't do a lot of in elementary. So a couple of things that we want to try and do as a kind of a whole district thing, looking at the reading and incorporating more reading into science and vice versa, practicing that new format, and then really sticking to the schedule for science instructional time. So we did, Amy Scalaro worked around putting a common schedule kind of in place at all of the buildings, making sure that they have a block for this, and making sure that they really stick to teaching science during the block that's scheduled, and trying not, because sometimes when you have the same kids in front of you all day, it's easy to say, well, I'm just going to keep going with this because I want to keep going with this, and then science will take a back seat. So we really want to make sure we're sticking to that. The other thing, we use mystery science, so we get information around the usage. So at Wednesday's pre-K to 5 leadership meeting, I'm actually going to share that usage with the principals and dig into it a little bit more deeply to see who's using mystery science, why are we maybe not using it, is it a time factor? You know, can we use some people who are actually digging into mystery science and have them model or do something like that? So we're going to dig into that information a little bit more deeply this week. Furnace Brook Science, again, they dipped last year, but they rebounded big time. And then they actually want to make sure that they are hitting the MCAS topics within Open SciEd. So some things that they're doing, they're looking at, they want to continue with the review in grade 8. What they've been doing the past several years is grade 6 and 7 teachers will go into grade 8 right before MCAS and do a quick review of some of the things that they've kind of learned in 6th and 7th grade so that they can just kind of refresh their memory a little bit. One thing that they're doing this year is working with an Open SciEd coach through 1-8. She actually has an entire action plan that she met with Patty and myself over. She's already met with the middle school team. There's a walkthrough tool that she's shared with us, all kinds of things, and trying to just make sure that we're implementing Open SciEd the way it's supposed to be implemented, working on assessments, all of that. And as you'll see when we get to high school, one of the action steps that they are doing is Leslie Diamond already met with the Open SciEd coach from the middle school. She met with her from the high school, and they mapped out these Open SciEd storylines to the high school content. So again, we're trying to do that vertical piece so that as kids are changing how they're learning in middle school, that's going to be catching up with them in high school. So we're trying to kind of bridge that gap a little bit better than we've done in the past. Just the timeline, we did the data dashboard in the fall, we did an introduction, and then the data analysis fall to winter. Curriculum time has been going all year, and that will continue to go all year. And then the big thing is really the follow-up piece on some of these action plans, making sure that things have happened the way we wanted them to happen, and really keeping tabs on, did it make a difference when we analyze in the fall again. And so that's it. I probably went way over time.
No, that's
Sorry,
great.
Tom.
It's a tremendous amount of work.
Yeah.
It was
I
a
don't
great
know if there are
presentation.
questions. Thank you.
I do.
Yep.
I was curious how much you mentioned iReady, and we were having a conversation at my dinner table last night because I guess in middle school they're doing the iReady math assessments like right now.
Yep.
And I'm curious if the teachers noticed a correlation between some of like the problems they noticed on MCAS and what they might see on iReady, and same thing with English. Like if
Yeah.
I guess I don't know personally like how much that data kind of correlates with each other, but
So
That was my
iReady's
question.
data is a very good indicator of MCAS scores.
okay.
But what I'm seeing and what I think the middle school teachers are seeing is, so this year they changed how they are doing the assessment, because what we've been finding since we started implementing iReady, I think 3 years ago, in the middle school, is students are not growing. So I think that they might be getting bored with the assessment. You know, it might be a little bit down, you know, elementary, they have the characters, so is that a factor? But I know Patty is doing the assessment differently. So they used to assess across a number of days. Now they're taking the early release day and assessing all at the same time. So is that gonna make a difference? We will see. But if it continues to show that we're not growing using iReady, then we need to look for a different tool. Elementary, it's a very good correlation of MCAS though. So we look very carefully at the iReady data in the MCAS data, and now the forefront data for Dibbles and Bridges. So we're kind of trying to bring all of those data points together.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question. Just to add on to that too, I think the middle school kids figure out in the assessments that if they answer it wrong, the next one's easy again.
Yep.
So they've wisened up to how that works.
Yeah.
At an elementary school meeting at the MCAS data, they showed us some charts with the differences between the elementary schools and things. And so one piece that came up was that there is a school that's doing some team teaching, and it looked like some of the results there were stronger. Is that something that you're seeing and that looking into?
Well, that was mostly in science. Yes, one school did departmentalize in 5th grade last year. It was kind of a tryout. The issues, and we'll have this conversation, we have, every year we change the number of sections. So when you're looking at departmentalizing in an elementary school, you could have 2 sections, which is very clean. One person does ELA and social studies, the other person does math and science. But then the next year, you might have 3. So how do you split it up then? And then how do you do professional development? So like we had Bridges. What if one teacher was teaching math and science that year? She got all the professional development on Bridges, but then the next year the other teacher had to teach math. How would she catch up with that? So there are a lot of pieces. And the other thing is they might have scored better in science, but I believe their ELA scores dipped lower. So there are always like these pros and cons to everything. I think the research is split on departmentalizing in elementary.
We reversed it in Cohasset.
Yeah.
We had departmentalized, and we went to, because of many of the reasons that you talked about, a more, just with teachers doing everything, and actually our MCAS scores improved. I think it depends on who's doing it. Elementary has a vast variety of content. They're not the content specialists in one area like our middle school and our high school teachers are. It's an overarching certification, and it provides a professional development nightmare. So there were a lot of negative reasons for doing it, but yeah, it can work in either way.
Yeah. I think it works, like I said, it probably works better if you have a consistent number of sections all the time. Ames Way used to departmentalize. They moved away from it maybe 6 years ago. I don't know, Tom, do you remember? Because
At least,
Meredith had,
so at least 5 years ago.
yeah. So they moved away from it.
Interesting, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? What was that?
To eat.
Oh, I don't know. Whatever. I ate this morning.
Oh, this is,
It's noisy over here.
Me too, huh?
Yeah, it could have been. Yeah.
Yeah, you got a bunch.
it's all you.
Snacks. Thank you, Ellen.
I'm gonna sit.
Mr. Miller,
Yeah.
Thank you, Ellen.
in 200 words or less.
I know, that took a while, huh?
No, that was great.
Get through it.
That's a lot of work.
You went over your 10 minutes.
I did, next time I will just.
It's just boom.
It's not all ladies.
It's probably me.
All right, so
That's just
my presentation is a little less colorful than Courtney's and Ellen's.
Hey,
And
I
it
made
probably-
sure,
it
I made
probably-
sure
it probably-
mine was colorful because Mrs. Dargan.
It goes with good reason, because
I like
the,
Yeah.
as you'll
Thank
see,
you.
the outlook is not quite as
Right.
happy and bright, but we'll get through it. So, oh, this did not come up well. That's, how come it's showing, that's funky.
Let's focus on the black.
Yeah, well, it wasn't like that.
So it looks
No,
already.
our slides are like in our,
It's
In the
correct,
drive,
it's
it's
correct on the
fine.
drive, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
they're all lined up.
Oh well, hopefully nothing else gets messed up like this. But the crux of this is that this is a 20-year look at the complete school budget, and yeah, it's kind of crazy here. But as you can see, over the 20 years, we've had the average percentage increase over the 20-year period is 2.29%, which is indicated on the bottom. And you can see our historical percentages. It kind of straightens out there through the last few years. What this slide was really going to show also is the growing impact of our salary percentage, or salaries, our staffing versus expenses, which is everything else we pay for out of our operating budget. If you look up, you can kind of tell in the first couple years, it's around the 80-20 split. And gradually over time, it's grown to where we're down now. We're 87 and 13 right now. But yeah, I apologize for that. But the next slide. Oh, look at that. It's good. All right. So this focuses on just our last 8 years with our budget, and you can see across that time period, we've averaged around a 3% increase annually. You know, our last 4 years have all been over 3%, including a 3.45% increase last year. This is typically I would give a little bit of an update on where our town budget stands, the town of Marshfield budget. We haven't begun meeting yet. Dr. Sullivan and I are meeting on Friday for initial conversations with town finance. But this is also one of the things we are very interested in reviving is our town school revenue agreement, as well as our fixed cost agreement as well. So this is fiscal 14, and it kind of shows you what we did in the past. We pulled out fixed costs on the municipal level, and then we had a set percentage of remaining revenue that was split essentially 2/3, 1/3, and that's how we derived our budget in the past. And we're hopeful to talk with town finance to revive that agreement. I wanted to mention this before I got into 26. Next school year, this school year, we did not. It was a very difficult budget to put together for fiscal 25 this school year. We did not have to lay off any personnel, but we didn't fill a significant amount of positions. And this details the positions that remain vacant, unfilled. The first two are administrative positions. Ms. Scalaro's assistant director of special education lasted 1 year. Ms. Casey became Furnace Brook principal. We did not fill it. Dave Cawthorn's administrative assistant in technology was not filled. We had 3 positions at the middle school, ELA, science and art, that were not filled. We had 2 teaching positions at the high school, social studies, that shouldn't be 1.17, apologize for that, social studies and tech ed, as well as a math tutor. 9 positions totaling over $700,000, so very significant. And it's something that you know, we didn't lay off anybody, but these were positions that were not filled to make fiscal 25 work sort of on paper. This is our draft financial plan, fiscal 26, fiscal 30. It's a little different, Ms. Stetson, it's changed a little bit since our budget subcommittee meeting. We met as a leadership group, and we came up with a little bit of a more reasonable approach. We're going to talk about the 4 items in 26 on the next slide. Just want to take a look at the fiscal 27, the fiscal 30. Mental health coordinator, social worker, adjustment counselor at elementary, they're sort of paired together as the 2 items looking at 27 and 28. Then the math coach and reading specialist at the elementary level, they're sort of paired together in 27. And then remaining is the administrative assistant at the middle school, additional administrative assistant, and the potential world language program in 6th grade and elementary, and an additional elementary health educator. Those are both out. Oh boy, what did I just do? All right.
Courtney, can you press slide?
Yeah, can you just press?
I don't think they could do that.
I don't know what I did. Thank you, Courtney. So that's the whole draft financial plan, and that's what we will ask the committee to approve at the next school committee meeting. This focuses on just what we have on our draft financial plan for fiscal 26. It's much less than it has been in the past. These 4 items, after school support, it says system-wide, it's primarily at the high school and middle school. We really beefed up our after-school support coming out of COVID with our ESSER funds. This is the one item that was really part of ESSER that we wanted to keep pushing and keep up. Approximately $50,000 to keep that program running. We're still running this year. We scaled back at the middle school, and we scaled back a little bit at the high school, but we're still going to be a little bit over budget there. So this is we won't be $50,000 over budget, but this is hopefully to add some funds to keep those programs moving along. Second item is the aforementioned. It was assistant director. We just recently changed it to director of special education. Again, working collaboration with Ms. Scalaro and coordinating and supervising all the special education services programs. This is an item we're looking to bring back. The 4th one is the permanent substitute nurse, which was also on that list. We would hopefully be able to revive that position and fill it. And then that 3rd item is technology expenses. This is really important. When I was looking back through some, I've been benchmarking back to FY14 for a number of items, and this $100,000 was there in FY14. We haven't increased those expenses at all. You're going to see in a moment that we are going to help technology a little bit, but we need this to survive and replace so much of our equipment. It just is not in our budget. We have some items on capital budget also that hopefully can address that, but the bill's going to become due. So it's a real important item. So this is the really scaled down. This is essentially where we're at. Looking forward to fiscal 26. Current budget this school year, 57.7. Our contractual salary increases and adjustments of 1.9 million. That percentage is 3.78%, I believe. Yeah, 3.78%. So that's contractual salary increases, and then some adjustments that have occurred during this fiscal year. We still do have 2 remaining contracts for fiscal 26. We are negotiating our paraprofessionals and administrative assistants. That is also included, an estimation is being carried. So that's part of that 1.9. The real issue, the 3.78% right now is without any attrition, retirements, any unfilled vacancies and all that. that could be handled. The real issue, and what's hit us fiscal 24, 25, and it just keeps rolling forward to 26 is our operational increases. I'm gonna go to the next slide because that 845, 938 is detailed right here. And this is what I've been talking about for 2 years. Sped out of district tuition, right now, I've kept it level. Right now we have projected 8 less students out of district next school year.
You can just change, so.
But yeah, it's so variable. Like, so we're obviously going to have, I think there's a 4% increase by the state. The state mandates the percentage increase they can have. So the 4% increase, but 8 students less right now on paper, that's probably not realistic, but if we do have a few less, we might be able to skate by there. So it's a little bit of a roll, but I think right now we could be solid there. Right now on paper, it's a difference, it's this year it's $4.2 million in out of district tuition. But it's actually on paper right now, it's 3.6 next year. So that includes the 4% increase. So a lot of variability there, so we're just gonna hold there for now. This is obviously all subject to change, and it's gonna be a work in progress all the way through town meeting. The next item is the next 3 items are all kind of tied together. Curriculum, instructional software, technology maintenance. These are the items we're carrying where traditionally you used to purchase something and you purchased it and you didn't have to worry about it. You buy a textbook, 10, 12 years, unfortunately sometimes more than that, there was no ongoing cost involved. Curriculum companies, they got smart. Instructional software companies, they got smart. Technology companies, they got smart. Annual costs. Curriculum, it's elementary, ELA, science, math, middle school math. It all adds up. So historically, we'd have $5,000 in the textbook line at the middle school, and next year it's 70, 80,000. So it's huge. It's big money. Every time we buy a new curriculum package, there's these ongoing costs that we need to move into the budget. So same with instructional software. iReady is significant cost. I think that's basically almost all iReady right there. And then same thing is happening in technology. Our software maintenance, hardware maintenance, everything, our infrastructure, all comes with an annual cost now. The next item, vocational tuition, is a huge item. So it's going our way right now. A lot of this, obviously, all this is detailed in the binder. Right now, we're just non-South Shore vocational. We're down to 3 students attending Norfolk Aggie. So, and it's actually coming down to the tune of $87,000. But the big item is South Shore VOTEC tuition. We're paying for 3 students this year because on October 1st last year we only had 3 students attending. This year on October 1st we had 38 students attending. And that's 38 times 20 and change, $800,000. We're meeting on Friday with town finance, and we haven't begun to talk about this, but the town, I'm kind of speaking.
We're looking for a partnership.
With the town. It was a town
decision.
Obviously, we share. If it's $800,000, it's $400,000 in revenue that won't come to education.
But from our view, it can't be looked at the same way,
Yeah.
obviously, socio-vocational, technical, it was looked at in the past where we had 3 kids.
Yeah.
It has to be looked at as
And
an overarching town decision with the town partnership, or we just won't be able to support our budget.
It needs to be out of our budget.
we get to the end of this, if we threw another $800,000 on there, it's just not feasible. It'll
It's not feasible.
decimate our school district.
Well,
So
yeah, quick comment on that,
Yeah.
right? So they have their own school committee rep from Marshfield. Needs to be a separate budget, can't be included in
Yeah,
ours.
yeah, that, I mean, that's gonna be our take.
Yeah.
This is,
Yeah.
it's everything.
It was a town decision.
Yeah.
We're part of the town, but it was a town decision.
Yeah. The next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items are all transportation related. Just, there's two components of this, more homeless students, more special education students to a certain extent, but just incredible increases across the board. Athletics, we've been propping up athletics out of the operating budget because the transportation costs have just skyrocketed over the last couple of years. And then we do have 2 new lease special ed. We actually have them now, but we don't have to pay for them until next year. So we're leasing 2 new special education vans. We haven't purchased a new van in 5 or 6 years, so that was very important. But all those items are adding up. That's real.
Tom,
All these are based on last year's actuals, so they could actually be a little bit lower, especially the utilities, over $200,000. Utilities, and again, that's based on fiscal '24. We're gonna have 25 and then 26 if everybody's experiencing this even in their homes. The heating and electric through the roof. So it's this $846,000 used to be minimal. All these items, small percentage increases under our 3% threshold. Now it's double digits, and it's really and this is not every single district in the state is experiencing this. Every headline is, we might be in the headlines after tonight. So that's the $846,000 that is under operational increases and decreases. So all told, about a $2.7.5 million increase. That presents level service education budget of $60 million, about $60.5 million. We add in the financial plan that was $350,000, gives us a total budget of $60,798,942. That's the number that we'll bring forward at our next meeting as the initial school committee budget. It's a 5.37% increase, which sounds high, but it is significantally less than many of our neighbors in surrounding districts.
And I think it's a conservative financial
It's
plan.
very, very conservative. We're not asking, just you take away the $350,000, that drops that initial education budget to just over 5%. So again, we're seeing other districts are 7, 8, 9%. So it's very, very conservative, but it's realistic, and we're going to have.
It's tight.
It's very tight. So, over that 1.9 million may come down over a little bit, get us under the 5% range, but there's not much wiggle room besides that. There's the operational degree. So, and then of course, there's obviously a lot of work to be done. We'll vote that number, 5.37%, and work with the town on our education budget. Again, we're starting on Friday. The vote tuition, which we just spoke to about the South Shore VOTEC. What I mentioned prior, cost of living adjustments for our 2 contracts. We have a number plugged in there, but we need to negotiate those. Circuit breaker reimbursement out of district tuition is what I mentioned earlier. Circuit breaker reimbursement is determined by the state. They haven't set FY26 yet. If it changes in any manner, it could be to our detriment. Out of district tuition I mentioned earlier. Great variability. Utilities. Are we just going to keep having rising costs there? And salary attrition, retirements, unfilled vacancies, people leave, not filling it. those are all those items that we will look to try to offset some of that 5% increase.
I think it's important that you did represent the salary attrition last year and all the positions that you didn't fill. Because there's a point where you
can't do that
anymore.
Yeah.
We just run too
Yeah.
thin, so it's obviously not as easy to do this year.
Oh, and then I just wanted to end on this note. Fiscal 23 per pupil spending. So this is the last year the state works a couple years back because fiscal 24 information is being sent in. So fiscal 23 per pupil spending. Marshfield has 3,877 students in fiscal 23. Our per pupil spending was $18,436. But once again, that third bullet is what we've historically looked at. Massachusetts districts greater than 1,000 students, Marshfield ranks 132nd out of 156 in per pupil spending. So we're still right where we've been all along. I mean, we've historically done a lot more with a lot less, but everything I detailed, there's a breaking point, and we're reaching that breaking point. So, again, just to wrap it up, town charter, proposed vote by the school committee by the last Monday of January. So we will ask the committee to vote to approve an initial fiscal 26 school committee education budget of $60,620,489 at our next meeting.
We have the public hearing.
At the public hearing.
It's the 21st.
21st.
21st?
Yes.
Oh, great.
Unless you want to come on a Friday.
You have.
No. January 21st.
Tom and I will be here on the 24th.
I'll be No. 3 days late.
You all set?
Yeah, any questions?
All right, good work, Tom. You guys all set?
Yep.
All right, is there a motion?
As always.
Our next meeting is gonna be the 21st.
Yeah,
Ventress.
at the
Ventress.
Ventress.
Yep.
It's a public hearing.
Right. You'll be there on the 24th, though.
I will be there the 21st.
Do I have a motion to adjourn? Yeah.
Second.
Second, okay.
Ms. Stetson?
Yes.
Mrs. Dargan?
Yes.
Mr. Greer?
Yes. Have a good evening, all.
Thank you all.
Bye, Rick.
Thank you.
Bye.